Welcome back to another episode of Asper Reacts. I'm your boy Asper, and today, okay, reparations for descendants of enslaved original Americans and Black Americans. What the you're giving, but they didn't even have to pass a bill or anything to give fucking immigrants reparations, but we don't get reparations. When we was old, that shit, we didn't even get the 40 acres and a mule because they stole, or mule, because they stole that from under us when we wasn't fucking looking. Like, bullshit. But hey, if you're enjoying the videos, let's go ahead and get into them, because this I'm a little upset, but let's go ahead and get into these videos.
Black Americans, it's time to be honest and drag Bernie Sanders and the Democratic Party because they are against us. Bernie Sanders has come out recently saying that identity politics, blaming black people and LGBT people for the recent fall in the Democratic Party. So, on top of that, this guy has also been called out because he refuses to support reparations for black descendants of American slaves because he is an undercover racist like most Democrats. And as you can see, he was called out in 2019, 6 years ago, about the exact same issue. And he was even called out by fellow Democrats like Julian Castro. So you can't just say it's me, right? And as you can see from this Pew Research Center poll here, yes, most black Americans want reparations and most of us want cash. Even conservatives, moderates, liberals, registered voters, non-registered, men, women, high school diploma or no high school diploma, college educated or not college educated, it doesn't matter, we all want it.
After seeing what the Democrats are displaying right now at this point, I mean, there's really no reason to give black Americans, foundational black Americans, descendant of freedmen, reparations, man. I mean, at this point, y'all arguments are null and void. Null and no legal effect. If any legal ramifications do exist, it will be because you crooked politicians have implemented them. At this point, it is obvious, it is very clear. California is giving illegal immigrants reparations. And you can't make this up, and you can't ignore it, and you can't expect us to ignore it or even act like we are ignoring seeing this shit right now. I mean, YT supremacists, you have no leg to stand on at this point no more. Tethers, whoever else disagree with it, with giving cash reparations to the descendants of freedmen slaves. Like, you have no leg to stand on at this point. Clearly, no one needs the studies for this. No one needs a bill passed for this. No one needs any votes to pass for this. Come on, you cannot expect us to ignore this shit right here. How? Where? When? Why? Who do that? Where? Because it's absurd right now. Anybody going against giving reparations to black foundational black Americans, it just is what it is.
The Democrats always start talking about reparations when they know black Americans are done. And this time, we're finished, okay? Y'all spent all that money, or stole all that money, or whatever y'all wanted to call it, on them illegal immigrants. Y'all opened up that border. Y'all brought all these people here. Y'all handed them checks. Y'all pushed them in our neighborhood. Y'all did mass illegal evictions. Y'all displaced people. Y'all did all this stuff. And y'all have yet to even apologize for that. Are you insane? What other study do you need? You better call up Dr. Claude Anderson and William Darity. Okay? They have everything that you need. I'll set up the commission right now. Call me, Trump. I don't even want to work with y'all. President Trump called me. I'll set up the commission. And at the end of the day, we already know how much money was we are supposed to be getting. Okay, this is our country. Okay, we built this. Okay, this is our culture that y'all are making so much money off of. Y'all are taking our land that we're fighting every day for, including myself in Chicago, Illinois, for my godfather and my mom. You have the nerve to try to come out with this on Wednesday like you are about to, we're going to do it this time. We're going to champion it this time. Get out of here. No. We want the migrant package. We want the migrant package to continue indefinitely for the next 60 years. That's what we want. We want our money for our infrastructure, and we want people to go to jail that's been stealing the money that's supposed to be going to our communities. That's what we want. We want you to free Larry Hoover, free Jeff Ford, free Asada. That's what we want. We want to free everybody that's supposed to be free out here. That's what we want. Aisha, Cory Booker. That's what.
Every reparations leader has sat around, looked at rep2025.com, co-authored that proposal, signed the petition. We have millions of people from all walks of life, all races. We have people who are black, white, Indian, every ethnicity that support the Rep 2025 proposal, that think it would be the best thing to move us forward as a country. You're going to have to tell us beyond a shadow of doubt. You got to prove to 20 million people why that doesn't make sense. And if you can do that, I think we're willing to listen.
Hey, Black Americans, I know something strange. Let me see if you noticed it too. Have you noticed how America goes around calling other countries bullies and tyrannical, and they call their countries messed up while also not compensating us reparations? They compensated slave masters, but you're going to take our tax dollars and go and bully other countries, do regime change wars, go and bomb nuclear sites with our tax dollars while also saying you don't have money to compensate us reparations. Interesting how that works, right? Anytime Israel needs money, they get a blank check, but Israel is the same country. They're freaking IDF trains police in the States. In the freaking US, the NYPD has an office in freaking Tel Aviv. They can fund that now. They can fund that all day, but they can't compensate us what we are rightfully owed.
Man, once again, all you motherfuckers is speaking against reparations. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what the fuck y'all talking about. It's old to us. It ain't no motherfucking handout. Everybody else got their motherfucking reparations. Even motherfuckers where the shit ain't even happening on this motherfucking soil. Goddamn, be getting goddamn checks cut from our motherfucking government. They gonna pay us our shit. And it ain't just for slavery. It's for redlining, Jim Crow, the crack epidemic, all that shit. So we just gonna forget about all the lynchings that happened. All the goddamn black men that lost their motherfucking lives to this shit that was getting lynched. Shut the fuck up, man, and let us make progress. And you shut the fuck up again.
Reparations as the first step to healing? The first step to healing is forgiveness. Time heals all wounds, but if you have a wound that hasn't healed, it's probably because you're still picking at it.
Let somebody owe you $100. You won't just forgive that away, I bet. No, I agree with you. You shouldn't pick at the wound, but who's the one picking at the wound that is slavery? Was it black people who made Jim Crow and erected the Confederate statues? Was it black people who turned every black Wall Street we tried to make into a Tulsa massacre? Was it black people who started over-policing black neighborhoods as soon as slavery was abolished? And was it black people who initiated redlining? And that's the thing. If you want to forgive people who've wronged you in the past, do that. It's for your healing. But you can't forgive somebody while they're still wronging you. They're still redlining, even though it's illegal. They're still over-policing. They're still expressing anti-black racial bias through hiring and promoting, which will negatively affect black generational wealth for decades to come. They're still over-policing us. They're still putting forth laws that negatively affect the black voter. They're gerrymandering the black voter. And you want us to forgive them while they're still picking the wound?
Man, what's going on, y'all? How y'all doing? Check this out. I've been watching a lot of these reparations hearings, right? And it's two things that irk my spirit. But the second one don't really irk me the most, but the first one do. And the first one is these Pan-Africans. you'll get these Pan-African, because this is how I set up if y'all haven't seen it. So you'll have like a commission, right, that's listening to the people, you know, on why we should get reparations and things like that. So they're going to try to pass out to the legislators so you can see if it get passed, which it won't get passed because you can't do it race-based. And that's how they tricking a lot of people. Like, hey, we black, we should get it. You can't get it like that. So that's number one. But anyway, so you have different people that come and speak. And a lot of these are black Americans too. Let me say this. A lot of these people that are Pan-African are black Americans, but they get up here and just sabotage the whole thing. One thing they'll do, they get up there and say, hey, our people from the diaspora should get some too. They are brothers and sisters, so they throw that out there. Then another person might come up there and he gonna start reciting poems. Like, these people will get at a reparations hearing where people are trying to listen, that's on this commission board, they're trying to help us get some type of financial gain, and these damn Pan-Africans will get up there and start reciting a poem. A poem that they wrote, they ain't got nothing to do with the money. They ain't saying like, hey, we should get this for this, because if you could trace, they ain't talking about none of that. These Pan-Africans are time wasters. I promise they are. And we all know the tellers. I seen a lot of tellers come up there and speak on like how, well, we should get it too because we experience racism and you know, we be oppressed here. Okay, cool, y'all do. But y'all, that was y'all choice to come here. Y'all immigrated here. Mike, whatever it is, you immigrated here. We been here. Your grandparents ain't come from this land. Your grandparents come from over there somewhere. Your grandparents ain't got nothing to do with nothing on what we built, what we fought for, and what we bled for here. But them Pan-Africans though, they is a problem, especially them old ones. Them old Pan-Africans are just a waste of time. We ain't gonna never get nothing if they up there. Anytime I see somebody with a kente cloth on, or them garbs they be wearing, them brown and green and red garbs they be wearing with the hat, it's done. It's over for me, yo. It is over for me. As much as I go at the Democrats, I think Pan-Africans are worse than some of these Democrats that fake like they for you, but they really for the immigrants. These Pan-Africans are dangerous, bro. They are dangerous. I'm watching this guy. This is something important. Then you got other black people come up there. They talking about social issues. Nigga, forget you need to talk to social services what's going on in your apartments and stuff like that. You need to talk to social service about why your kid this ain't got nothing to do with reparations. But shout out to the black people that stood on business, boy. It was a lot of black people stood on business, and the black people that stood on business, a lot of them people didn't want to hear that. They was upset up there. Shout out to New York, my Harlem people. But they was upset up there. They didn't like what the FBAs had to say. They didn't like what the Sulani people had to say. They didn't like that. They did not like that. And shout out to my black Americans that stood on business that day. And there's another thing I want to say before I go. Now I'm going to do that on another video.
I'm here today to fully support Black reparations because this is the bare ass minimum. Period. The bare ass minimum. History is enough of a reason. The dehumanization that we've seen is enough of a reason for why we need redress and reparations now. This is not an impossible reality, right? We've seen this with the Japanese Americans in the late 1980s. They received on a federal level reparations. And the fact that black folks and our black community and our brothers and sisters are still waiting for a formal apology, I'm just gonna leave that there just to simmer. And I just really wanna note, especially as an Asian American woman, I would not be here if it were not for the black liberation struggle, the black freedom fighters, culture creators, and the world builders that have fought for my liberation. So,
thank you. Thank you for your comments.
No, what I'm saying is tens of millions of people, but black people.
Black people.
Okay. who would get that,
Yeah.
it would bankrupt the whole country.
It would bankrupt the whole country, but for the people that built the country to make you the fucking money,
Yeah.
you understand? You know, all of a sudden now you worried about being bankrupt when you spend trillions of dollars on defense, trillions of dollars on unnecessary bullshit, trillions of dollars to send black men, especially to jail, trillions of dollars to drug the fuck up our whole country, trillions of dollars to fuck the food up, to fuck the air up, to fuck the water up, trillions of dollars to make people sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker in this country. But you mad? We don't have the money because, and this is what I think, and this is what I believe, you just don't like black people. Plain and motherfucking simple, you do not like black people. It is very obvious. For hundreds of years, we've been the most hated. The most hated, but within that hatred comes the hypocrisy of loving our culture. You've made trillions off of our motherfucking culture. You know that. You've made money off our culture. Let's be real.
100%.
You made money off our culture. White musicians, all of them have made money off of black fucking culture. All of rock, all of jazz, motherfuckers, all the shit we created from the oppression, which is fucked up in itself. The oppression and the fucking abuse and the rape and the putting down of us, we create blues, jazz, rock and roll, reggae, ska. We invent all of that shit. And to top it off, we invent all the modern shit that you all use. From the video game cartridge, Henry Lawson, huh? We got the pacemaker, Otis Boynton. We have the Dr. Bath, who created the laser eye surgery. We have Dr. Gladys, who's still alive, who's almost 80 years old, who created GPS. We have the guy who created the algorithm for Instagram, who's a 21-year-old Ghanaian kid. We've done all this shit. Then the internet was discovered by a Nigerian guy in the 80s. Like, we've done all of this innovation, even though we've been shit on and continue to be shit on every motherfucking day, right? Because nobody wants us to live anywhere. Nobody wants us to have this unless we're playing sports for them. Like I said, unless we're academically, right? No, I'm sorry, athletically or sexually satisfying motherfuckers. That's all black people are good for. We're supposed to be at people's beck and fucking call when they want us to entertain them or make them some kind of money. But if we ask for being autonomously wealthy on our own, being autonomously having our own shit, all of a sudden everybody pitches a bitch. Everybody has a fucking hissy fit. People get mad when you don't want us in your neighborhood. You don't want us in your schools. You don't want us doing anything. But then when we say, hey, okay, that's cool, because Muhammad Ali said in the 60s, he said, hey man, I think we should have our own state. I don't want to live amongst you motherfuckers. They were like, well, why not? You don't want us around. You're segregating everything. And then as soon as we want to go, white people start panicking. White people panic. But, you know, we don't want to be around you, so you can call us niggas, and we're tired of white cops shooting us. We're tired of this pissing contest that these white cops have because they're afraid of black dicks for some fucking reason, because most of this shit is black dick envy. We're tired of that shit. So what about this? Why don't we just give us what you owe us, and we can go on and do our own shit? But no, they don't want that. White folks especially hate autonomous black happiness. They do not like when we are by ourselves doing our own shit. They cannot stand that shit. They don't even like us in a group. Like in Chicago, there used to be a thing.
especially when I hear this dumbass thing as reparations for slavery. I'm like, dude, slavery was everywhere in the world. Yeah. There was slavery in the Arab world, in the Persian world, in the Greek world, in Europe. White, blonde, blue-eyed Polish people were slaves to Germans. White, blonde, blue-eyed Germans. So what are you talking about? Like slavery is something that only black. You guys pay too much respect to racism. Yeah. If we were all white or we were all black, we're still going to discriminate.
You know
against
we
each other.
discriminate against? Eye color.
Thank you very much.
It's crazy how people would justify America's atrocities against black people by saying slavery happened all over the world. That it happened to white people, European, Asians, all different ethnicity groups, but fail to recognize or neglect to mention that reparations is also happening all around the world, has happened and continue to occur. Germany-Luxembourg Agreement to Israel and the people of Judah in 1952. United States Civil Liberties Act of 1988 for the Japanese. Canada reparation for cultural genocide of the indigenous people of Canada in 2006. France reparation for Algeria for war crimes in 2022. And yes, descendants of slaves should claim their eligibility for reparations due to war crimes, something that would be too long to elaborate in this video. New Zealand giving reparations to the Maori tribe and the Treaty of Waitangi starting from the 1970s. Australia's Stolen Generation reparation given to the indigenous people in 1999. Norway reparations to the Sami people starting in 2005. And there's many more other examples, but I think I proved my point. Last statement. White experience and white perception of the world has been a dominant perception for many centuries. And these videos that you hear of black and brown people trying to hold on to trying to verify or to proclaim, propagate that these white supremacist ideologies or truth or the absolute truth, absolute reality is a cry to maintain their status that they receive from doing so, from adapting these ideologies. And when I say white supremacist, I don't mean a specific group or even the whole, or even all racist white people as a whole. No, when I say white supremacist ideologies, I mean specifically to think that the white experience and the white perception of reality is the absolute, is the dominant and above all superior perception and the actual absolute truth of the human experience. Those ideologies, as what you hear these videos, they'll say, I'm just stating facts, I'm just using science, I'm just using all that from a white man's or white people experience and perception. When we fight back to that, when you start hearing our people from the mother continent, from far east of the planet, when they start having a voice and being on the mainstream media and start really hearing them, hearing their culture, and start seeing the way of thinking is completely different. What morality is completely different. What's right and what's wrong or what's justice is completely different than what white supremacist ideologies that we have adopted. It removes them from their status because those ideologies from white supremacists are no longer the dominant reality. That's all I wanted to say, man. And what you hear right now from his brother is outcry, trying to maintain that status.
Repeat your name for us, and can you spell it for us because we know it's not the usual spelling?
Brooke. It's B-R-E-U-C-K. Thank you. And I'm from Brooklyn. I've said a lot at these hearings before, so a lot of things I don't feel like I need to say again. But I will say it is deeply flawed and deeply disingenuous to equate the plight of my enslaved ancestors to the experience of undocumented individuals and illegals seeking work at places like Home Depot. Let us be clear, these are fundamentally different narratives. Illegals make a choice to leave their homes, pay exorbitant sums to coyotes or plane tickets, some risking their lives to live across borders without invitation from this country. Contrast this with the history of foundational Black Americans. Our ancestors were here already. That genealogists just testified that we've been here on this land for 10,000 years. And our other ancestors were trafficked here against their will. Both were stripped of their humanity and forced into systems of slavery that were perpetuated by the United States government across generations. They had no choice. Their children and their children's children were born into chains and could not escape. Though we experienced a Holocaust unlike any other group in the world, we fought here. We persevered here. We forced our oppressors to make change. We are here today to force repair. This is a legacy of pain and resilience that cannot be trivialized or compared to voluntary illegal migration. How can the melanated diaspora, whose lineage does not go back to the 1870 census, look themselves in the mirror and justify benefiting from a system their ancestors did not build, while joining with white supremacy against us? How can one emulate colonizers exploiting the very people who fought for justice and equality? In New York, we have lived side by side for decades. We embraced you. We fought for you. When the immigration process excluded black immigrants, we fought for you. And yet the question remains, who fights for black Americans? You come from nations where leaders conspire with white supremacy to exploit their own people. And now, some among you replicate that same betrayal here, becoming the very sellout leadership you fled. We see you. How can you align with the colonizers, attempting to stop our birthright? Legacy organizations, you have yet to cross the finish line after all these years. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing repeatedly and expecting different results. It is time to stop the cycle of money wasting and ineffective strategies. This bill is unconstitutional. I have started an email writing campaign to reach out to each and every sponsor and co-sponsor to adapt a new bill that is lineage-based and constitutionally sound. We have told this commission, and now it's time to raise our voice. Please see it's bit.ly/reparationsnys to join the email writing letter campaign. And
thank you, Ms. Brooke.
Thank you so much.
This is one of the most well-articulated pro-reparations arguments that I've ever heard.
On race. It's based on status. A black person who comes here from Nigeria or Jamaica or Brazil, they're not owed a penny from America. They chose to come here. We are talking about the people who are freedmen, the descendants of people emancipated by this country. We still know those people because you are one of those people. I am one of those people. A lot of those people here in the audience. I just told you I could break down my genealogy. My dear Nana was 101 when she died. My great-grandfather just died 3 weeks ago. He was 100. He remembers fighting alongside white veterans in World War II. He remembers coming back and seeing his white veterans get homes and lands and pensions and the door being slammed in his face. And we are going to say that America that says liberty and justice for all, that's okay, get over it, keep it moving. But we have to never forget for everyone else's tragedy. And as far as from where reparations will come, I need people to stop thinking it's going to come from their tax dollars. Look at all the trillions that America spends right now. We talk about inflation, the invisible tax. We have something called the PPP loans. Do we remember the PPP loans? America spent $6 trillion on PPP loans. You know what they just did? They canceled all of it. And we didn't even know. America gave the corporations, the banks alone, $29 trillion. You know what they did with that? They canceled all of it. So let's start acting as if America is as hamstrung by debt as they want to pretend.
Why does a person that never was a slave deserve compensation from a person that never owned a slave?
Bank of America and much of the U.S. financial system were built on the profits from slavery, using enslaved people as loan collateral and even owning them when debts weren't paid. These same institutions, which grew into billion-dollar corporations from the slavery of our ancestors, continue to uphold systems of institutional racism that today prevent black people from building generational wealth. The horrors of slavery didn't end with emancipation. They left deep scars that still shape the lives of black people today. This inherited trauma, known as post-traumatic slave syndrome, is rooted in generations of violence, ripped apart families, and stolen identity. It continues to affect mental health, family relationships, and the overall well-being of black people. The U.S. government has paid reparations to Japanese Americans interned during World War II and even Americans held hostage in Iran. Yet the only people paid for slavery were the slave owners for losing their slaves after the Civil War. The victims of slavery were never paid. Our ancestors were stolen and endured some of the most violent atrocities in human history. So white people in this country could build their largely unearned generational wealth that they still sit on today, while black people have been systemically denied the right to build and pass down the wealth we fought hard to earn for generations. Because every single time we did build, for example, Black Wall Street in Tulsa, the whites burned down the entire town and slaughtered every single black person that they could find. You stole our ancestors. You stole their labor, which made the U.S. an economic superpower. You stole their futures. You dehumanized, brutalized, and traumatized them. Then that generational trauma was passed down to their descendants, who you continue to traumatize and brutalize with your systems of oppression put into place to limit and prevent us from creating generational wealth. And you refuse to dismantle your systems of oppression because that would be admitting that white prosperity was built on black suffering. But you still owe for the centuries of unspeakable atrocities, because reparations are not charity. It's an unpaid debt that you owe.
Yeah, America never truly atoned for slavery, despite what a lot of you might think, and oh, it was so long ago. You see, white America was enriched by nearly 400 years of plunder of black communities. There's research showing that white households on average are worth nearly 20 times more than black households, and that it would take 228 years for the average black household to catch up. The UN urged the U.S. to pay reparations. Do you think they did it? No. But you see, many white people are afraid of having the slavery conversation, possibly because they're embarrassed to admit that these things went on like this for so long. So there's nobody anxious to bring it up, but it must be acknowledged that all public institutions benefited from slavery, and that America is anti-black, foundationally. And all of the institutions that were built on that anti-blackness still stand and function to this day. Notice how it's fine when white people bring up the past to kind of gaslight us and shut us up. White people were slaves. But when we bring up something relevant, it's a problem.
The best part about reparations as an issue, it exposes your fake white allies and exposes people and shows you where they actually stand. You know, I joined this one organization. It's supposed to be a Black Panther Party here in Washington State, and they were serving with a bunch of white people. That was the first red flag. But then when I started mentioning reparations, the first thing the white Panthers kept saying was, well, can it be education? Can it be rent payments? They were trying to do everything, say everything outside of cash. They were even criticizing Tariq Nasheed and Foundation of Black Americans as white people in black spaces. It really shows you where people stand, even your friends and family. You know, if you are a biracial person, mention reparations around your non-black half and see what happens. It shows you how people really feel about you, and Black Americans are waking up to that, especially FBAs.
We don't talk about reparations enough, and I'm sick of it. I'm finna start it up right now. I had a coworker. I got a tip from this white guy, and he only meant to give him 30, but he gave him 35. And he's like, "Oh no, he gave me 35. I gotta give him at the 5." I said, "Bro, that's reparations, bro. You gotta keep that off of the strength." Right now, we're not gonna get no reparations back from them in the physical, like no actual, bills not gonna pass. Where we get, actual, stimulus or some type of check sent to us. So anytime you can get an opportunity to have a one up on a white man or a white whoever, that's reparations, man. And if y'all get offended, if white folks get offended from that, no offense. I'm just speaking my mind, and it's all jokes.
The racism that I played here, when I played here, the difficulty of going through different places where we traveled. Fortunately, I had a manager and I had players on the team that helped me get through it. I walked into restaurants and they would point at me and said, "Can't eat here." I would go to a hotel and they said, "Can't stay here." We went to Charlie Finley's country club for a welcome home dinner and they pointed me out with the N-word. "He can't come in here." Finley marched the whole team out. Finally, they let me in there. He said, "We're going to go to the diner and eat hamburgers. We'll go where we're wanted." If I couldn't stay in a hotel, they'd drive to the next hotel and find a place where I could stay. Joe and Sharon Rudy, I slept on their couch 3-4 nights a week for about a month and a half. Finally, they were threatened that they would burn our apartment complex down unless I got out. I wouldn't wish it on anyone. The year I came here, Bull Connor was the sheriff the year before. You've got to keep the white and the black separate. And they took minor league baseball out of here because in 1963, the Klan murdered 4 black girls, children, at a church here and never got indicted.
President Trump, why should people who never owned slaves pay reparations to people who never were slaves to go back to their homelands? 1998, Taisha Miller was found unconscious in her car in Riverside, California. Police fired 12 times, killing her. No officers were charged. She was unarmed. 1998, Donta Dawson was shot and killed by Philadelphia police during a traffic stop. Charges were dismissed. He was unarmed. 1999, Amadou Diallo was shot 41 times by NYPD officers while reaching for his wallet. All officers were acquitted. He was unarmed. 2003, Usman Zongo was shot 4 times by an NYPD officer. The officer was criminally convicted of negligent homicide. No jail time was received. He was unarmed. 2004, Timothy Stanberry Jr. was shot and killed by an NYPD officer in Brooklyn. The shooting was deemed unjustified. The officer was not indicted. He was unarmed. 2006, Sean Bell was shot at 50 times by NYPD officers the morning of his wedding. All officers were acquitted. He was unarmed. 2012, Rakia Boyd was shot in the head by an off-duty Chicago police detective who fired into a group in an alley. The officer was acquitted on all charges. She was unarmed. 2013, Jonathan Farrell was seeking help after a car crash when police shot him 9 times. The officer was charged but acquitted. He was unarmed. 2014, Michael Brown was shot and killed by a police officer in Ferguson, Missouri. Officer was not indicted. He was unarmed. 2014, Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old boy, was shot within seconds by Cleveland police while playing with a toy gun gun. No officers were indicted. He was unarmed. 2014, Eric Gardner is choked to death by an NYPD officer while saying, "I can't breathe." No officer is indicted. He was unarmed. 2015, Sandra Bland is found dead with multiple injuries in her Texas jail cell after a traffic stop. Her death's ruled a suicide. She was unarmed. 2015, Freddie Gray died from spinal injuries while in Baltimore police custody. All officers were acquitted or had charges dropped. He was unarmed. 2016, Alton Sterling was pinned and shot multiple times by Baton Rouge police. No officers charged. He was unarmed. 2018, Stephon Clark was holding a cell phone in his grandmother's backyard. Officers fired 20 rounds. No charges filed. He was unarmed. 2020, Breonna Taylor was shot during a botched no-knock raid in her apartment. No officers charged for her death. She was unarmed. 2021, Dante Wright was shot by an officer who claimed she mistook her gun for a taser. She received 2 years for manslaughter. He was unarmed. 2022, Patrick Lyoya was shot in the back of the head by a Michigan officer during a traffic stop. Case ended in a mistrial. He was unarmed. 2022, Jalen Walker was shot more than 60 times by Akron police after fleeing on foot, unarmed. 2023, Roger Forston, a U.S. Air Force airman, shot in his apartment by Florida deputy. He's unarmed. 2023, Tyree Nichols was beaten to death by Memphis police officers during a traffic stop. Officers are acquitted. He was unarmed. 2024, Sonia Massey was shot by an Illinois deputy after calling 911 for help. The deputy has not been convicted. She was unarmed. President Trump, the blood has not been forgotten. The law of God, the righteous judge, is clear. You shall not pollute the land where you are, for if blood defiles the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed there, but by the blood of him that shed it. I call heaven and earth to record this day, the close of this 3-day testimony. If no one will stand in the gap as a witness for your nation, I ask God to let the judgment and the sentence go forth with haste in the name of Yeshua. Get in touch with us at rep2025.org. President Trump, why would descendants of the transatlantic slave trade get reparations to leave if they were never in slavery? Oscarville, Georgia, 1912. White mobs violently expelled the entire black population. The land was later submerged under Lake Lanier to erase the evidence. East St. Louis, Illinois, 1917. Over 100 black residents were murdered in a white mob attack. Homes and businesses were burned while police stood down. Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. Black Wall Street was burned to the ground by white mobs with support from law enforcement. Up to 300 were killed, 35 city blocks destroyed. Rosewood, Florida, 1923. A white mob destroyed the entire town after a false accusation. Survivors fled to the woods, never returned. Detroit, Michigan, Paradise Valley, 30s to the 50s. Redlining locked blacks into overcrowded zones. Later, I-75 was put right through the heart of Detroit's Black Business District and Cultural Center. Chicago, Illinois, Black Belt, 1930s to the 40s. Redlining confined black families to overcrowded housing. Banks refused to lend. The city created laws for residential segregation based on race. Vanport, Oregon, 1948. A flood destroyed housing for 18,000 residents, mostly black war workers. The government failed to warn them. No rebuilding followed. St. Louis, Missouri, Mill Creek Valley, 1959. The city demolished 5,000 black homes in the name of urban renewal. 20,000 residents were displaced without replacement housing. Miami, Florida, Overtown, 1950s. I-95 was put right through Overtown, a thriving black community. Residents and businesses were evicted, never compensated. Durham, North Carolina, Haiti District, 1960s. A self-sufficient black business district was wiped out by highway construction. No restoration or reparations were ever provided. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, move bombing, 1985. The city dropped a bomb on a black home, killing 11 people, including 5 children. 65 homes in the black neighborhood were destroyed. Baltimore, Maryland, highway to nowhere, 1970s. A highway project destroyed a black neighborhood and was never completed. The land was taken, the people were displaced, the road project totally abandoned. This is a testimony against your nation before heaven and earth. God is telling you, send the descendants of stolen people out of your land with their reparations, or he will destroy your land. We will help you at rep2025.org.
Give me your strongest argument in support for reparations and reparations right now.
Reparations right now, and we should have been had reparations because foundational black Americans built this country from scratch. If it were not for foundational black Americans giving hundreds of years of free labor, this country would not be in the position it's in right now. And the whole argument was that was long ago. No, the money is not long ago. The money generated and the wealth is still here. Money doesn't disappear. It gets compounded and passed down through generations. The money has been passed down, and the debt of slavery has been passed down generationally to us, and we have to be repaired. Nobody has a problem with Native Americans getting compensated. They don't say that was long ago. That was long ago, and they get casinos and they get compensated now. Nobody says, well, I wasn't there when the Native Americans are getting chipped off. No, I didn't have anything to do with Native Americans getting put on reservations, but my tax dollars go to help them. I didn't have anything to do with people being put in concentration camps in Nazi Germany. Some of my tax dollars go to that. I didn't have anything to do with the Japanese out here on the West Coast being put in internment camps during World War II. When they started giving them money in the 80s and 90s, that was some of my tax dollars. So 9/11, when those buildings went down in New York, some of our tax dollars went to the victims of that. I didn't fly no planes into nobody's building, but when it comes to us, everybody wants to waive responsibility. Everybody has benefited from the slavery of foundational Black Americans and the free labor that we provided the wealth for. Everybody benefits from that right now, and we are the only group has not been compensated. We have to be compensated for that.
And how do you argue against somebody that is against reparations? Considering you said all of that, you will still have people say, I still don't support it.
Well, that's just I'm white and I say so. We call that I'm white and I say so. Listen, most of the country didn't support Black people being free from slavery. They didn't support that. It was Black people fighting for that. It was Black people who were the Maroons, and I got a movie about the Maroons coming out. Black people fighting from the swamps, attacking plantations. They were destroying most of the plantations in Florida. They don't talk about that. There were Black people fighting in the Civil War. If it weren't for the Black troops fighting, they would not have won the Civil War. The South was winning at first. They don't tell you that. That's why most of those military schools are in the South. They were winning until the Black people joined the Union. Then they started to defeat the South. During the Civil Rights Movement, white people didn't fight for our civil rights. White people were perfectly fine with us living on the other side of the tracks, drinking out of that water fountain over there. It was us stopping that bullshit. It was us moving the needle. They try to remix it now and say, well, white people were walking side by side. No, white people were perfectly fine with what was happening to us. Most white people did not want us to have civil rights. We said, no, we're going to get the civil rights and we're going to be treated like human beings. And then we made it happen. We're making it happen with reparations now. I don't give a damn what a white supremacist want or don't want. That person wants me somewhere butt naked, hanging in a tree somewhere. Damn what he want. I want us to get equal and just and equitable treatment, and we're going to get that.
Whose humanity had been denied for centuries. So we're here to say that there's no more waiting, no more watering down, no more putting justice on layaway. Black folks are owed more than thoughts and prayers. Yes. And we're owed repair, we're owed restitution, and we're owed justice. We're reintroducing this critical resolution today because contrary to the desperate, defensive, and deeply inaccurate arguments against justice and equity in this country, attacks on equality, Black economic opportunity, Black health, Black wealth, and so much more are not just a ghost of the past, but they are a very present and ongoing legacy that we are living through right now. I saw that our friends at Fox News have already picked this up. They scooped us, and as we know, depending on who picks up a story, there's different framings, and it's always interesting to see what framing they're going to use. So some folks like to frame the debate around reparations as Black folks simply complaining about wrongs done in a distant past to our ancestors that nobody today is guilty of. But we know that's not just ahistorical, it's ignoring the reality of today. On today, we are still living through the effects of the brutal kidnapping and trafficking of Africans and the government-sanctioned system of chattel enslavement that ushered this country into existence. We're living through the effects of a government-sanctioned system of sharecropping that replaced it in lieu of reparations to the freed Black Americans who had nothing but their names, an eviction notice, few legal protections, and nowhere to go. We're still living through the government-sanctioned Jim Crow segregation laws that kept Black Americans from equal or sometimes any access to education, jobs, homes, political representation, or safety, no legal recourse for persistent acts of terrorism like public lynching or massacres of towns like Tulsa and Rosewood and so many more. We're still living through the government-sanctioned voter disenfranchisement, followed by government-sanctioned discriminatory housing policies, government-sanctioned mass incarceration, and more. The harms done to enslaved Africans and subsequently their descendants for generations to follow are innumerable, but they are well documented, traceable, and persistent. We often hear that slavery was a thing of the past, that our country no longer allows segregation, that black folks has every access to opportunity.
If you are a descendant of immigrants who have come to the United States since the 1960s, I want you to take a look at this picture and keep this in mind if you ever have the question, or if you hear others have the question about, well, my parents came to this country, my grandparents, my great-grandparents came to this country with nothing, not speaking English, not knowing anyone, and they were able to make a life for themselves. Why can't Black Americans seem to do the same? So here's some homework for those of you who have that question, or if you hear others who have this question, take some time and look through Google to see what all of these things are. What is chattel slavery, specifically chattel slavery? You might have heard of Jim Crow. You probably haven't heard of black codes. You probably haven't heard of some major racial massacres against black folks in the United States and descendants of enslaved people. Maybe you have heard of redlining, but maybe you don't know about how the war on drugs is very much a racial issue. This is going to give anyone with these kinds of questions a really good sense as to just a sample of some of the things that Black Americans have had to face in this country that is very specific to their racialized experience, that folks who are immigrants or children of immigrants, grandchildren of immigrants who have come since the 1960s, that we have not had to deal with and our parents and grandparents did not have to deal with.
Fuck Bernie Sanders. Fuck you. You piece of shit. You piece of fucking shit. I don't give a fuck when nobody say fuck him. And fuck anyone else who votes against reparations for black people. Black Americans. Fuck y'all. We've been deserved reparations. I want to hear that bullshit about it'll tank the economy. Bitch, y'all giving reparations to immigrants, which I can't give them to the people who are really owed reparations. Fuck out of my face. Straight fucking bullshit. I am highly heated. And so are other black Americans. Well deserved to be pissed the fuck off. Because if there's any group in this fucking country who deserves reparations, it's black Americans. Done said, don't need to be repeated. Should have already fucking happened. If you're enjoying the video, go ahead and drop a like and subscribe. Every little bit helps, and I thank you guys truly. This has been another episode of Azrael Reacts. I'm your boy Azrael, and I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here because this topic pisses me the fuck off. So I'll catch you guys next time. Deuces.